speaking from like like an American perspective as well, like the a lot of people who essentially look like me and come from backgrounds I do just don't interact enough with the Muslim world to really make any sort of, I would say, competent critique of it. Like the typical stereotypes that you see from, I mean, it's usually like like right-wing folks who talk about people in this kind of bigoted way. Like it's obviously so far out there that it's not even true to the reality of the situation. But I do think, like, when you do look at the reality of this religious ideology, I mean, there's problems to it. I can't say that there aren't, right? So in current culture, it's become this bigger conversation of how we should talk about peoples of other faiths, right? And what that looks like coming from different cultural perspectives. But I don't know, I tend to find commonality in what I would, call an extremist Muslim and what I would call an extremist Christian, as far as political ideologies go. Like, they both want similar things. Like, the most hardcore of Christians want to be in government and want to, like, lay Christian law out on the land. And I think you see that with Muslim, the most hardcore of Muslims. So I do find some commonalities there, but I agree, like the broad spectrum of belief there is different. Obviously conservative Christianity exists more so in the United States than in most countries. Broadly, like, that kind of Christianity doesn't exist in like a lot of Europe and in other places. Like it's almost unique to a specific region. So I think we have to also be careful here when we talk about like what these traditions, because like neither tradition is monolith, and it becomes really hard when you start to say, well, I don't like this ideology because of this reason, and they're like, oh, well, that's not what we believe over here, and it just comes this back and forth where there's just nothing productive in there. So it's a tight line to walk, I think, and I obviously this from talking about it online, right?
Yeah, well, the issue is, first off, yes, there is a great lack of proper information and communication when it comes to the criticism of Islam, and I myself realized that when I left Islam, and over the years when I began, looking online and looking for atheist sources, for example, I found myself in atheist circles, and what I saw was that 95% of Western atheists, maybe it's just an exaggeration, but that's just what I feel, were just talking about Christianity. Nobody was talking about Islam. And those who were talking about Islam were not very well informed very often. And I kind of thought, hey, I could do this. I could go out there and start talking about this. So I did decide to do that. The issue is, I know where the sensitivities lie, when we're talking about Islam as a religion. When we are in the West and we talk about Islam as a religion, when we're talking from a Western perspective, it looks like we're talking about this other religion, the religion of the others, or the religion of people in a minority, and you want to be a little bit sensitive about this stuff. The issue is that applies to you as Western people. That did not apply to me when I lived in a Muslim country. That does not apply to many people that I know who live in Islamically run countries and who can tell you horror stories about what they experience and how they have to hide their thoughts, their most simple thoughts and beliefs, how they have to deny their true identities and their true thoughts forever because they are afraid of the terrible consequences that might happen to them and that happen to people all the time over there. And the issue is that we can talk about how different religions have different groups of people that practice or interpret their religious beliefs in a certain way. The difference with Islam is that when I talk about Islam, I don't ever talk about a certain group of Muslims or certain, organizations or movements of Muslims. I talk about the fundamental scripture which the religion relies on. And I do the same thing when I talk about Christianity. And when it comes to Islam, you simply have a book like the Quran that is claimed to be the word for word, speech of God, of Allah. And in that book, you are given very clear instructions to rule by Islam, to punish by Islam, to spread by Islam, to subjugate people of different religious beliefs and it calls other people from the different religious beliefs the worst of creatures and this and that. We might be sitting here thinking about how much sensitivity and respect we should have, but meanwhile I open the Quran that I have here, and it tells me directly, hey, you are the worst of creatures, you are lower than cattle. And
it's I mean, there's great points there, obviously. I totally agree. It's when you get down to the texts, like it's hard to look at that and defend it in my eyes, and we're always going to be under the world of subjectivity here in interpreting these things. And there's always going to be experts that say, well, this actually means this and this actually means that, but that doesn't stop the fact that people believe a certain way, and they're going to continue to believe a certain way. And it's because this text is a justification for this. So I'm totally with you there. Before we get to some calls here, I do want to tell a quick story. I said I was going to tell this story. So last weekend, okay, I was in Abilene, Texas for some business. Okay, so Abilene, Texas, in case you're not familiar, is it's like your stereotypical Southern Texas religious town. I was told that it has the highest church to person ratio in the state. I could not verify that. It might be true, but when I was there, it felt like it was true. There was like churches next to churches next to churches. It was pretty crazy. So I saw this sign. I was with somebody in the car, and they pointed out this sign that said Demon Hunter Expo 2. And I was like, what the hell is a Demon Hunter Expo? Okay. I looked this thing up. Turns out it's a paintball event that happened. First of all, started last year in October. Okay. So during the pandemic, they decided to do this paintball event for the first time, which is fine. Not fine that they did that. I don't know why I just said fine. But it was sponsored by this church that they're trying to do again this October, where I guess the idea is people dress up as demons and like shoot people, get shot at with paintball guns. I don't know what the theology there is that can demons be like fought back through the power of paintball guns? I'm not sure. Don't know what's happening there. I guess there's like a sermon involved too, but the craziest thing is they have this YouTube trailer online where they talk about like what this thing is about, and they don't even talk about it like at all. It's just like a skit of a guy with a cowboy hat and a Bible, and there's a bunch of people like with t-shirts that say like lust and like apathy, and he like blows on this Bible to like kill these demons and then shoots them with paintball guns. It is the wildest thing I've ever seen, and I'm quite frankly disappointed. I wanted there to be a real Demon Hunter Expo that I could go to and hunt demons at, but I don't know. I guess they didn't want to do that for me. So anyway, that's Abilene, Texas for you. Really, really wild place to be. I wouldn't suggest going there unless you have business, but whatever. And speaking of that, I also want to give a quick little, I'm going to say half plug, mysterious plug, because this month for October, we are doing something very special for a certain date. And let's just say reservations have been made. Okay. So folks who really like this show, who want to see something different is going to happen this month. So look forward to that, folks. Anyway, we are going to get to some calls here now.